Mr. Milbert, how did the world economy perform in July? What does the DBIX say?
Well, if you look at the Deutsche Bank indicators, the DBIX, it is declining from very high levels, and it's sharply declining in recent months. So this is a bit worrisome, and we will see how this will end for the world economy.
Why is it declining? What are the reasons for that?
Well, first, this upturn after the Lehman event, after the fiscal and monetary stimulus, the world economy was pushed out of the crisis. Now the stimulus has faded in recent months, recent years, and on top of that we have not only still very fragile banking systems, but also unsustainable government debt finances. So the investor sentiment is now very low, and on top of that you see that the world economy, the demand is declining, and now everybody is in a wait-and-see modus.
Wait-and-see modus. The debt crisis in the US seemed that it has come to an end, but it's the long-term solution. It was not the long-term solution. What do you think? How will it impact the world economy and the US economy at itself?
Yeah, you're right. It was only a temporary step, because if you look at the long-term debt projection for the United States government debt, it was very steep. Now it's a bit less steep, but it's still close to levels, and the projection is still going up. So investors are looking for a program which is really sustainable, which really helps. And this was only one step to lift the debt ceiling. We will see more needs to lift the debt ceiling. And on top of that, if the US is now starting to tighten into a stagnation or recession, the US economy could drop, and we could have negative growth in next months and quarters. So this does not help the debt projections again, and so everybody is very in a wait-and-see modus and hopes that the government find big solutions this time, not only in Europe, but then now also in the US.
So it can even be worse than now. But let's have a look over to Japan, where the economy seems to have overcome the huge crisis reasoned by the earthquake and tsunami in March. What do you think? Is Japan on its way to a growing economy again?
I think we see that the Japanese economy has overcome the problems after the tsunami and earthquake, but the structural problems of the last 2 decades, the recession, the economy was close to recession before the earthquake, these problems are still there, though there's no positive outlook. And now, given that Japan is still an important export nation and the world economy is in retreat, so the outlook is not very positive for Japan too.
And the outlook for Germany's economy is also worsening. Surprisingly, the business climate index, the IFO, has dropped again in July. So what do you think? Is the economical uprising in Germany, is it coming to an end?
It seems so. Well, we are still on a very high level if you look at the IFO, but it's declining sharply, and at least the world economy, and Germany strongly depends on the world economy, is declining sharply, so everybody should expect that the IFO and Germans' growth expectations are also declining. We saw record profits in first and second quarter of many companies, but the outlook of the companies was always a bit less positive. And we have the European debt crisis and the US government debt crisis. If there are no solutions, investors will be in a wait-and-see modus, and we need big government action and big actions, possibly or maybe also from the central banks, to come out of this situation again. And I think it is better to have a solution early than to wait even more weeks and to have more declining equity indices and less growth. So,
thank you very much, Mr. Milbert.